Hello and welcome. This is a crime thriller story called The Last Manuscript. The first line of the manuscript was what caught him. By the time you read this, I'll already be gone. Ethan Cole leaned back in his chair, the glow of his laptop screen staining his tired eyes. The city outside his window was alive, sirens, rain, the hum of sleepless lives, but his world was quiet except for the soft hum of his desk fan. He'd taken the editing job 2 nights ago. A quick turnaround. Anonymous client. Easy money. The author's name was Miles Harrow, unfamiliar, even after Ethan checked the usual databases. The file was titled The Last Manuscript. And from the very first page, something about it felt wrong. It read less like fiction and more like a confession disguised as a novel. The story described a missing journalist, a secret investigation, a woman named Lila, and a string of coded messages hidden inside real places across the city. Ethan told himself it was just a story. But then he reached page 92. A phone number appeared in the middle of a paragraph, his own. At first, he thought he was hallucinating from caffeine and lack of sleep. But when he read it again, there it was, embedded naturally in the prose. His number, exactly. Curiosity overruled caution. He dialed it from a burner app, just to prove it meant nothing. The line rang once. Twice. Then a voice, female, trembling, breathless, whispered, "Ethan. Is that you?" Before he could speak, the call ended. He sat frozen for a full minute, phone in hand, pulse loud in his ears. How could anyone, especially a stranger, have written that? He checked the email that had sent him the job. The address was a random string of letters and numbers. He replied anyway. "Who are you? And how do you know my number?" No response. But an hour later, a new message arrived. Subject: Meet me where the city forgets. Body: tomorrow night. 9 p.m. The Lantern Cafe. Don't bring anyone. Ethan barely slept. By the next evening, the rain had turned the city streets to mirrors. He found the Lantern Cafe tucked into a narrow corner downtown, the kind of place that looked older than its neighbors, still clinging to wood and amber light. A few people were scattered inside. A jazz record hissed softly through the speakers. He took a seat by the window. At 9:04, a man entered, mid-40s, thin, eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. He spotted Ethan and approached. "Miles Harrow," he said, sitting without invitation. "You read my manuscript." Ethan swallowed. "You're real." "So are you," Harrow said flatly. "Which means they'll come for you too." Ethan blinked. "Who?" "The people who killed Lila." The words landed heavy. "She was a journalist," Harrow continued. "We were working together on a story about a development firm called Vanguard Holdings. On the surface, real estate. Beneath it, human trafficking, embezzlement, disappearances. She found proof, then vanished. I wrote it all down, every name, every address hidden in the story's structure. I thought it would keep me safe." "Safe?" Ethan asked. Harrow's hands trembled around his coffee cup. "I sent it to editors across the city, disguised as fiction. You were the only one who responded. Maybe that means you were meant to find it." Before Ethan could reply, Harrow glanced toward the window. "They're here." Ethan turned, headlights flashed across the rain-streaked glass. A man stood on the opposite sidewalk, umbrella tilted low, watching. Then the cafe door opened. A gunshot cracked through the music. People screamed. Cups shattered. Harrow jerked, blood blooming across his shirt. He fell forward, eyes wide, whispering something Ethan barely heard over the chaos. "Find the truth." Ethan ducked behind the booth as another shot punched through the window. When he looked up, the shooter was gone and Harrow lay motionless, the manuscript scattered like fallen feathers. The police called it a robbery gone wrong. Ethan didn't bother arguing. He knew what he'd seen. Back home, drenched and shaking, he gathered the pages and spread them across the floor. Every fifth word spelled something hidden, a message written through the story itself. Lila lives. Find the archive. He stayed up till dawn, deciphering coordinates buried in the margins, an address to a closed-down public library on the city's east side. At sunrise, he went. The library was a mausoleum of silence. Broken lights. Dusty shelves. A faint echo of forgotten words. He found the door labeled Archive Room. Locked, but the glass was weak. He forced it open. Inside, rows of old computers, humming faintly. Someone had been here recently. A voice behind him. You came. Ethan spun. A woman stood in the shadows, pale, exhausted, her eyes startlingly alive. Lila, he breathed. She nodded. Miles said you'd find me. I saw him die. Her voice wavered. He knew he would. The manuscript was his insurance. What you have, it's only half of it. She stepped closer, holding a small black drive. The other half is here. Proof of everything. But if they know we met. Footsteps. Heavy. Approaching fast. They found us, she whispered. They ran through the dark corridors, up the stairwell, out into the open rain. Shouts followed, dark figures emerging from cars, guns glinting under streetlights. Ethan and Lila sprinted toward the subway entrance, lungs burning. A train roared into the station as they jumped the turnstile. Doors closing. Ethan shoved Lila inside just as a bullet cracked the tile beside him. The train lurched forward. She gripped his arm, breathing hard. We can't stop. The files need to reach the press. It's the only way any of this ends. Ethan nodded. I'll help you. For a moment, their eyes met, two strangers bound by someone else's truth. Then a voice from the back of the car said, No, you won't. They turned. A man in a grey coat lowered his newspaper, revealing the same watchful eyes Ethan had seen outside the cafe. He smiled faintly. Mr. Cole, Miss Reeves. I was hoping we'd cross paths again. Lila froze. Finch. The gun appeared too fast to see. The train screeched. People screamed. Ethan lunged forward, grabbing Finch's wrist. The shot went wild, shattering a window. The wind howled through the car. Ethan slammed him into a pole, but Finch was stronger. They struggled, fists, elbows, desperation. Lila grabbed the gun that had skittered across the floor and fired. The echo died. Finch collapsed, his expression almost peaceful. The passengers had fled to the next car. The train slowed, sliding into an empty station. Lila stared at the gun shaking in her hand. It's over. Ethan looked down at Finch's pocket, a phone still recording. A message blinking on screen, upload complete. He picked it up. The upload had gone to an encrypted cloud drive. Every secret, every name already gone. Over. Ethan said softly. No. He planned this. 2 days later, the story broke on every major network. Corruption network exposed. Unknown source leaks citywide cover-up. Vanguard Holdings collapsed overnight. Ethan watched the news from a small motel room by the sea, a cup of coffee going cold beside him. Lila sat on the bed, silent, watching waves crash against the shore. You think we're free now? She asked. Ethan didn't answer. His laptop chimed a new email. No address. No subject. Just one line. There's another manuscript. Attached, a file named hollowcity.pdf. Ethan met Lila's gaze. Neither spoke. Outside, thunder rolled across the water. And somewhere deep in the city, another story began to write itself. Like, share.